Saturday's headline today. I think it's gonna be a fun segment here. We have 2 more shows before spring practice or G-Day, so I don't want to hammer too much analysis here, real analysis. What I want to do is take an opportunity to kind of call our own shot here on Monday evening here on the network before Saturday's football game. So here's the first one. Saturday's headline today: Rod rumbles. Dog's big back has a day.
Ooh.
Rod rumbles.
Rod rumbles. Okay. Roderick Robinson, everything. I watched the Florida State tape. Y'all remember this. This is before spring practice, right? I watched the Florida State tape. I put it up on patreon.com/Brooks Austin for all those guys to watch. And we specifically watched Rod. And I was blown away. I was absolutely blown away and mystified that this 6'1", 245, I mean, he might have been 250 in that football game. This 240-pound back was out here doing the things that he was doing against Florida State. And I was extremely pleased about the opportunity to see this in a full run. And then this spring, everything we've heard from practice is that he's lived up to all the hype that we gave you this spring about him. I expect him to have a big day on Saturday.
I like that one.
One of mine is just simply titled "Believe the Hype." The wide receiver room. You can believe the hype now. We finally get a good glimpse of him on Saturday. Multiple names. It's not just one dude that's kind of having a big day, and it's not just the 8th string on the roster that's having a big day. Like, it is your verified dudes that we've continued to hear about over the last few weeks. The Colby Youngs, the Dominic Lovitz. I mean, every single name on that depth chart. We see good things about them. We see a good connection with Carson Beck and those guys, and it feels like we can finally instill some solid belief in the fact that this wide receiver room is going to feel a little bit different than it has in years past.
Mine is, and it's because most Georgia fans are just yearning to see a Heisman winner. Heisman hype around Carson Beck begins early. And I think because he's going to have a good day at G-Day. Like, he's probably not going to throw the ball more than 25 times, but he's going to make big plays. He's going to make big throws. And he's going to do enough to get the national heads talking as well.
Actually, they chunked the piss out of it during these G-Day games.
Yeah, they have.
You know why? Whole lot safer to throw the ball out on the edge than it is to tackle in the box. So, yeah, I think both of these guys, I think Gunner and Carson are going to have like 35 attempt days. Honestly,
I mean,
I think they're going to throw a
it's also because there's not as many quarterbacks in the room this year. Like, you only have 3 scholarship guys necessarily. I'll
stick with the quarterbacks. Gunner Stock up ton.
Ooh. Oh, you're going with punts.
Gunner Stock up ton. You know, like that? I think the stock on Gunner is going to go not through the roof, but it's going to go up on Saturday. I think they're going to make sure that he has a really, really successful day. There's ways to do this. There's ways to go about it. But, you know, the simplest way to put it is maybe swallow the whistle a couple times so Gunner Stockton gets like a 40-yard ripper with the legs, whatever it is. And not only that, I don't think they even got to forge it or fabricate it or whatever. Gunner's had a really good spring. Gunner, for the first time, I've heard consistently good pub about Gunner, right? Whereas in years past, it was, had a good day today. Had a good day today. Good day, right? Kind of like this with Gunner on the sourcing and the reporting from him. However, this spring it's been a slow build. It's been a slow build of a really, really good practice circuit for him. So Gunner stock up a ton this weekend.
That would be a really good one. I don't know what the headline would be. I was trying to think of a good one, but I think it'd really just be nice to see a positive headline about the defensive line. I think that anything that you can see of explosivity out of that line or anything of just kind of pushing, noticing that they are kind of getting their way with the offensive line at times, because I think we all know that the offensive line is really good. We expect them to play really well. So if you can see them just kind of, again, like have a really great day collectively. It doesn't have to be just one specific person or anything, like just as a collective unit. If you can see some pops from them, if you can see them disrupting the pocket a good bit, I think a lot of Georgia fans would walk away from Saturday saying like that alone is a major win.
Based off not only what we reported on patreon.com, but I'll kind of relay it here. The first scrimmage was a bludgeoning from the offensive line.
Yeah.
The second scrimmage sound like defensive line played the run much, much better, apart from one cutback. I heard there was a bounce that happened. Rod took one for an explosive. But outside of that, defensive line played much better this past weekend than they did the week before.
I've got Georgia defense has found their next star in C.J. Allen.
Ooh.
I think you're going to look up and he's going to have an incredible day again, especially in that number 3. So
sexy.
You think 85 tackles is reasonable this year for C.J. Allen?
Ooh, 85.
Yeah. Total tackles.
Yeah.
Not solos, totals.
Yeah.
I think they're close to 35 last year. Let me look it up.
I mean, they should play 16 games this year. I think 85 is easily attainable with 16 games.
Right,
and he's
so
a Mike that can...
Shit, he had 41 last year as a freshman.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's a Mike that can play all three downs. Like, you're not going to take him off the field on third down because he can't run in coverage. Like, he's going to be on the field basically the entire time unless he's absolutely gassed. So, yeah, I would say he could probably get close to 100.
I'm not only watching C.J. Allen this weekend to see just how much better he's gotten. I can't wait to see those young backers. Oh, can't wait to see him. Because Smile's obviously not playing. So I think the first unit is going to be C.J. Allen and Raylan. And then maybe you rotate Terrell Foster in there with those guys. And then on the other side of the ball, the other team, I would just put all the youngins in there. Give me Chris Cole, give me Justin Williams, and I don't think Chris Jones is ready because of his knee, but give me those young cats and let me just watch. Let me just find out.
Man, if you could, that's fun to think about. Like, if you, for one of your defenses, you just have like KJ Bolden, all the young linebackers, Ellis Robinson, and like all those guys just kind of on a defense, just to see what it looks like, just to kind of get a good picture of it and be like, let's go figure it out together. Let's see what you guys look like as a unit. That's really enticing to think about.
Probably the deepest unit that they have, even without Smile. Maybe offensive line, which is my next group. Headline, OH, like O-line. O-line. Ooh, man, they're going to be good. They're going to be good 2 deep Saturday. Both units are going to look really, really good for the first time. First time since I've covered them. You know, first units always look really good, and then there's like a couple of weaklings in the second unit. I think they're going to go 10 deep Saturday.
Do you think, which I don't know if they've ever done this, but do you think they do any type of like swing players on offense line that maybe you let them play on both sides just to see what like different units
I think they did
like?
that last year.
Last year, I thought the offensive line was in one solid unit, like color, weren't they? And didn't they do that at one point?
I don't know. That's what I was trying to think. I couldn't remember if they had done that or not. But I'm just wondering.
No, you know what it is? They let the quarterbacks run with the 1s and 2s, like on different units.
But no, I think the only guy that I could see playing both sides, like both teams, would be like a Tate.
Yeah.
Play center with the second unit.
Oh. Get
reps. That's going to be a fun thing for me to see is Tate Ratledge play center. I think the idea of having, now I know Jared Wilson's going to be great. I believe that. Truly. I can't wait to see him Saturday as well. Just move like an athlete. But something just keeps coming back to my head of, well, if you get Tate over to center, that means you get Dylan and Mike on the field at all times.
Well, not even that. Jared Wilson can be the best center in Georgia history, and he's one rolled ankle away from shit. We need Tate to be a center.
Correct.
So it's like,
I was just thinking about like when Jared plays, that means Dylan or Micah is off the field.
Right.
Yeah. I would rather, based off what I know, I would rather Michael Morris and Dylan Fairchild be on the field at all times if I could possibly do that.
That's where you feel like you're getting the most out of that unit.
Maximum. If we're talking about best 5, the best 5, it's impossible for me not to believe that it's Tate Ratledge at center, even though he's just now starting to play it, and those other 2 guys at guard, because those other 2 guys are NFL football players. I have people telling me Dylan Fairchild put some of the best tape, and I believe it. I didn't watch him solely every game, but when they went back and evaluated him this offseason and just tried to like put a grade on him as a scouting department, Dylan Fairchild had one of the highest offensive line grades that they've had in a long time last year as like a first-year spot starter. And we know how good Micah Morris is. And my mind keeps going back to that. We talk about best 5. Hard to believe your best 5 means one of those guys is on the bench.
Well, you know what Kirby says about best 5? It's not best 5, it's 5 best.
Oh, yeah.
So what unit's going to play together the best is what he's going to prioritize. So
yeah, which, again, the traditional center being there, the other guys being comfortable at guard, I'm thinking of it in the most idealistic terms, right? Like, hey, it's a Madden world. We just get to pull a 95
put the highest overall. Yeah.
We're just going to take a 95 overall and slide him over here, and he's still a 95 overall. Yeah. That's probably not the case, right? Yeah. If Tate Ratledge is a 95 overall at guard, probably 87 overall at center. If Jared Wilson's a 92 overall, comfortable there, let's just play him there.
Yeah.
I get that. I'm with you 100%.
Dude, I cannot wait to see when the NCAA rankings come out. Yeah. You talking about that got me so excited.
So do you think that this is kind of backtracking a little bit in our conversation, but because that they do sling the ball a lot in these spring games, do you think we're going to get a lot of like Rod Robinson in the passing game, like get a really good glimpse of that?
Well, hell, we did last year, not of him, but of Cash Jones. Because, I mean, in the spring game in particular last year, Carson was, I'm not going to say Charlie checked down, but he checked the ball down a ton last year during the spring game. So, yeah, you could very well see Rod have that, oh, damn, he can do that type of day.
Oh, the stats available.
He's done that a little bit this spring during
you can
practice,
find him
right?
somewhere.
What, stats from last year?
Yeah.
I think we put him up. If you just search Georgia spring G-Day stats, SI.com, you might find it.
There's usually a PDF you can
Yeah, we got a
download
PDF of it. But anyways, I got one more right here. Drop off to Delp, overblown. I think Oscar Delp's an NFL football player. Like a bona fide Sunday guy. Okay? And he's going to look different than Brock. He's not going to do some of the stuff that Brock did, but that don't mean he's not a great football player. Like the NFL buzz around Oscar's already started. Michael was up there in Indianapolis. Oscar Delp was up there in Indianapolis as the underclassman, get in here early, learn what the NFL combine situation looks like. Now, Malachi was hurt. Malachi was doing stuff with his shoulder, all this stuff. It probably would be Malachi and Michael as the two highest rated underclass draft available guys this year. But Oscar Delp's like very, very close, right behind those guys as a true 3-down tight, as a guy that can play wide, as a guy that can be a routable option, as a guy that is going to be something in the pass department game, not just a go block guy. He's not Charlie Warner. He's not Brock Bowers. He's probably the closest combination of the two that you've had at the position in quite some time. It's going to make him a really, really coveted football player. I think we see that Saturday.
I think it's so interesting that if you kind of look at tight end rankings for next year's draft class, it's the Ben Urosic kid that everybody puts in there as the next tight end guy out of Georgia. But like when I think of Oscar Delp, I immediately think back to last year, and I can't help but get over this quite a bit, is that they kept trying to throw deep shots to Oscar Delp. Like they were trying to get explosive plays out of him. It felt like every single game. Now I know that kind of has an effect with Brock Bowers being in the game as well. Like there's some effect there of like, well, all eyes are on him. Let's try and slip Oscar Delp up the seam. Maybe we get a deep shot with him there. I know that that's in play, but I mean the same thing can be said this year. If this Urosic kid is what they are advertising him as to be, like maybe you can have some of that a little bit this year. But obviously they trusted Delp to be this explosive tight end for them. It's hard for me to imagine that Bobo isn't going to continue to evaluate him as such, and they're not going to just completely abandon him as such. I mean, it seems like they viewed him as this guy that, he's going to make big time plays for us, and we trust him to make those big time plays for us. Yeah,
I mean, just look at the Auburn and the Florida games, particular, and then Brock wasn't playing in the Florida game. They were sending him downfield shots. It wasn't like 5-yard hitches, quick outs, traditional tight end routes. Like they were using him as a traditional like Brock Bowers style tight end, where it's like go run Dovers for him.
Carson had 2 critical misses on him, one in Auburn and one in Florida.
Yeah.
Threw above his head against Florida on the sideline, and then against Auburn, I thought it was a combination of both. Yeah, I thought when we watched on the All 22, if you watch on the TV copy, it's like, damn, Beck just missed that guy terribly. And then if you watch on the All 22 copy, you're like, hey, Oscar, like you saw the ball for 5 steps. You should have made some type of adjustment. So I think it was a combination of both of those guys, but. I think there's also a level of confidence that has been provided to Oscar the last 12 months of really kind of being the number 2, and then midway through the year last year being the guy. Yeah, and now you practice the whole offseason like you're a guy, and there is a level of confidence that comes from that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you went from the number 2 to, hey, you're the guy now, to you are the guy. Fact. Like it's Brock, or it's Oscar Delp, and then who else?
Urosic.
I mean,
Urosic.
And I think it's also
Urosic.
I think it's honestly a blessing that Urosic isn't going to get here until the summer because of that. Like you get to allow Oscar to be in that role for the entirety of the spring, and then for us as viewers, like we get to see that on G-Day, like of what Oscar looks like in that role just by himself, and really kind of just develop him into that even more than he already did last year.
If you're wondering what Carson Beck's numbers were last season, he was 15 for 22 for 231 yards.
To who?
In G-Day.
Oh, in G-Day. So I was like, what? What are you talking about? He threw it 22 times. Vandergriff threw it like 27 times, did he?
Vandergriff threw it 25, and he went 13 for 25.
And then Stockton had like 12 rips?
Yeah, 13 for 22, 144 yards.
Oh, wow. He got a bunch of run last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think both of those guys have over 30 attempts on Saturday.
But I mean, going back to your point with Gunner, I mean, they did that with Brock last year of like allowing him opportunities to run, show his legs, be an athlete. So I could definitely see them doing that with Gunner this weekend as well.